Hey everyone, Shin here. So today ArenaNet released blog posts giving a whole bunch of information on specializations and professional reward tracks coming in Heart of Thorns, and I wanted to give you guys a video going over kind of how they work and my impressions of them and things like that. The footage in the background is just some PvP footage I've had laying around, but I will throw in the screenshots from the blog posts to kind of act as visual aids so you guys can see kind of what these systems look like at the moment and get a feel for how they work as I talk about them. So jumping right in with specializations first. Apparently with specializations, it's not just one particular trait line that you swap in and out for a class. What this specialization system actually is it's a complete rehaul of how traits work and how they're built and how you manage them on your character. It's a pretty interesting looking interface at the moment. I'll throw the image up right here for you. Basically what it is instead of having 5 trait lines that you disperse major and minor trait points throughout and get various traits and benefits and stats from, this system is a lot more streamlined. What you basically do is you effectively equip, for lack of a better term, 3 of your current trait lines to your character, and you are able to go full down those trait lines. You're able to go all 6 points deep into that trait line, as opposed to right now where you can only go 6 down 2 of them and then 2 down the last one, assuming you spread your traits out that way. This allows you to get the extra power and the full power out of every single one of those trait lines, as opposed to right now where you have to make some compromises depending on where you put your points. So for example, we're going to have warriors that specialize in strength, arms, and tactics, or arms, defense, and discipline. That's how this new system works. Instead of saying I have a 60404 build, it's going to be, I have a strength, defense, discipline build. It's basically equipping 3 of the current trait lines you have right now, and that is what you've specialized in. Now, I should mention that they've actually split stats off from the trait lines, in these cases specializations, and now those stats have been redistributed to gear and baseline stat levels for all characters. The numbers are detailed a bit more in the blog posts, so I won't go too much into those here, but basically you won't be getting any passive stat boosts from going down specific trait lines anymore. Now, they mentioned this later in the blog post, but I'll throw this up right at the start. The trait line that gives us access to, say, new weapons or whatever, or that plays off of whatever our new way of playing is, that's actually called an elite specialization, and you can only have one of those equipped at a time, and it will take up one of your available specialization slots. So for example, for the ranger, instead of having a marksman, beast mastery, wilderness survival ranger, you'll have a druid that is specialized in marksmanship and beast mastery or something like that. Now, actually jumping into each specialization and how the traits work for each, the minor traits work exactly as they do now. The deeper you go into a line, or in this case, a specialization, the more of these minors you gain passively. And for the majors, how this works now with the specialization system is majors are effectively locked to their tier, to their adept, master, or grandmaster tier. So instead of being able to do, say, 2 masters in a trait line, you'll only be able to do 1 adept, 1 master, and 1 grandmaster. That being said, they did mention in the blog post that they've done a lot of trait pruning, a lot of rolling various trait effects into skills baseline, a lot of making things more desirable and making choices more important as far as these traits go. I can't see any of the warrior traits because they don't have any information out on those yet, so I can't make a full impression of how this is going to work, but they do give some examples of, say, the elementalist stuff in the blog post. But basically it's going to make the traits you choose more meaningful and your decision more meaningful as far as what you pick in each of those tiers. Now, as far as my impression on this new system, overall I think it looks really cool. I think it is very intuitive. It has a lot going for it as far as newer players being able to pick it up. I can still see meaningful choices being necessary. I can still see build identity being preserved. However, I do have some fears and reservations about how the system works, in that you won't have as much ability to experiment with different builds and different trait setups as you do with the current system, because you're not going to be able to go down those extra 2 trait lines like you can now. You're going to be locked to the 3 specializations that you choose, and for example, you won't be able to run, say, strength, defense, and discipline with tactics in there for leg specialists on warrior. You're going to be stuck with just 3 of those lines that you can go all the way down through. A lot of my final impression, my final feelings about this new system will come down to how they handle the trait pruning, what traits have been removed and rolled into baseline effects of skills, how a lot of that stuff works. Because if you think about it, a lot of the traits we do have right now are kind of passive effects like Vigorous Focus, where whenever you use a stance you gain Vigor. I could easily see them rolling that into baseline effects of the stances. It's really going to come down to how everything looks when it's completely said and done, and how the remaining traits are laid out, and which traits those are and how they've changed. Now, jumping over to the other new system that they revealed today in the other blog post, these are the profession reward tracks. Now, unlike with specializations where I'm kind of on the fence about a few things, this is a system that I can get behind 100%. The things they're doing with this is going to alleviate a ton of problems that people have with the current trait access and unlocking system in the game. It's going to alleviate a lot of the PvPers' woes on unlocking certain things, and in general, it's just going to be a nicer quality of life system as far as I'm concerned. Now, as their name would imply, these actually work very similar to the PvP reward tracks we have in the game right now. That being said, instead of each line being based on, say, a dungeon or a specific set of armor or things like that with the PvP reward tracks, these are going to be based around various aspects of your profession itself. You're going to be able to unlock, say, a specific set of skills, or a specific trait line, a specific specialization, or the ability to use your elite specialization and everything that comes with that. Now, each skill or each trait is going to be a tier in and of itself, so you will have to move your way through each tier of these reward tracks to unlock more and more of the skills and traits that you might be wanting to use in your specialization or on your character for utilities or things like that. Now, actually progressing these tiers isn't based on any specific content you need to do, or like with the PvP reward tracks, it's not based on any arbitrary amount of progress you get from doing games or activities or whatever. How this system works is it's based on what are called hero points. These hero points effectively replace skill points as we currently have them. However, they won't be as readily available. They won't be infinite as skill points are currently. These are going to be basically gained just from leveling up and from doing essentially the skill challenges we have around the game right now, but nothing else. You're not going to get them from champion bags. You're not going to get them from leveling up past level 80. You're just going to get them for leveling from 1 to 80 the first time, and from the specific skill challenges that you see during, say, map completion, where you have to do something specific to unlock that skill point or to gain that skill point. They mentioned in the blog post that all existing skill points that we currently have on our characters, or items that provide it, or anything that would currently give a skill point, is going to be converted into a crafting material that is going to be used for various things in the Mystic Forge. They didn't give any details on that aspect, but any skill point we have right now is going to be converted to something useful and replaced as a system with these hero points. They did clarify in the blog post that a character that just goes 1 to 80 and doesn't do any of these skill challenges, or as they will be known after this change, hero challenges, will still be able to unlock a fair amount of things and still have the ability to make working trait builds and have a decent set of skills available to them. That being said, you're not going to be able to unlock everything like a character who went 1 to 80 and did all of the skill challenges or hero challenges will be able to do with this system. Likewise, they also clarified that in PvP, all of this stuff is going to be unlocked from the get-go. You won't have to worry about unlocking anything. People who only care about PvP will not have to worry about going through any hero challenge stuff or unlocking anything like that. If you go into the Heart of the Mists, you will have every single thing unlocked, including your elite specialization. Everything will be set and good to go for you in PvP. It's just PvE and World v. World where you will have to be concerned about the unlocking of things, which is exactly how it is right now with skills and whatnot. Now, like I mentioned at the start of this section, this is a system that I can get behind 100%. I really like a lot of the things, a lot of the problems that this system solves. It solves the new player experience problem where things are gated behind levels. It solves the problem of having to buy things in PvP or otherwise have to unlock things through spending skill points and gold in PvP to have them in PvE and World v. World. It solves the problem of the newer Grandmasters in PvP still having to be unlocked. It solves the problem of having to go do very specific pieces of content for very specific traits, some of which may be out of reach for a character at that level who is trying to obtain that trait. It resolves the problem of being gated behind certain levels or certain obstacles to have access to the freedom of traits or various levels of traits. This system basically opens up the freedom of character progression and character unlocks to something similar and, in fact, in my opinion, greater than the level of freedom we had when the game launched, where you can effectively unlock traits and skills and weapons at your own pace, and you don't have to worry about being locked behind a level or being forced to go do a specific piece of content. Now, you can work on unlocking all of your air traits and all of your cantrips at the rate you want and get those really early if you really want those specific abilities, and you won't have to worry about having to wait. You won't have to worry about traits being locked behind, say, hitting level 30 or level 60. You'll be able to just jump in and start working on these things from level 1 or 2. As you go around, you level up, you do these hero challenges, and unlock these hero points that you can then unlock tiers within each reward track. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I tried to give you guys as much information as I could as far as I understand about these two systems. I'm sure there are many questions that a lot of you guys have. I still have a few questions that ANET wasn't able to answer before the blog post went live. They are doing a Q&A on the main Twitch channel. I will leave a link to that in the description as well. That's going to be happening at noon PST tomorrow, which is the 24th of April. It's a Friday. Go check that out. You'll be able to ask any questions you have there. They'll be answering as many as they can about these two new systems. I unfortunately will be at work at the time, but I highly advise if you have any questions on these two new systems, go to that stream if you can and ask questions, because they want as much feedback and they want to give out as much information as they can on the basics of this system. And with that, I will see you around the stream or in the next video. Take care, everyone.